Well, what's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Welcome to another episode of Breakfast with Mark and Jen. Mark needs a coaster.
Oh, boy. See, this is the stuff that I'm talking about. All right? When you're married, how some people start bossing you around.
Well, listen, we're here.
It doesn't even fit.
Okay, well, guys, anyway, we're here to help your Christian marriage thrive. And as usual, coming in hot with another topic.
Yeah.
But today's topic is how to wait for a husband. This, I think, is going to be a good one. I think it's going to be great for our single ladies because you'll get to hear from the female and the male perspective.
Right.
So I would say let's just jump right on in like we normally do.
All right. Let's go. Kick it off.
Okay.
It's on you.
So how to wait for a husband.
Yeah.
I think one of the best ways in how to wait for a husband is to do some introspection.
Okay.
When you get married, you are not expected to be perfect because neither party will ever be perfect so long as they're on earth.
Right.
So you're not doing introspection to see where can I be perfect. You're doing introspection to say where can I be better. Okay, so let's say you're a woman that does some introspection and says, man, you know what? I realize that sometimes I can be so frustrated that I don't always channel my frustration properly.
Yeah.
Maybe I can work on that. Or maybe I'm a woman that because I live alone and I'm used to having my own space, maybe you're not good at sharing. Maybe you're not good at giving, right? Maybe if you are really honest with who you are, you realize that it's not that you're a mean person, but you struggle to open up and give. And you know, Mark, it reminds me of an exercise we had a couple do that we were giving premarital counseling not too long ago. And we told them, as part of one of their homework assignments, to ask people that were closest to them that they could trust what were their strengths and what were their weaknesses.
Right.
And interestingly enough, when that couple came back to us the following week, they asked people who didn't even know each other, and they came up with a lot of the same answers. So that's another way to kind of help boost your introspection is to ask people who you know actually have your best interest at heart, who love you, are going to tell you the truth in love. Hey, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? And that may help you know where you may need to do some work.
Yeah.
Because while you're waiting, you might as well get better.
You absolutely have to get better. Like, when we're talking about waiting for a husband, we're talking about how to get better while you wait. Because you should be working on you. Sometimes we think that waiting means just sitting around.
Right.
And I'm perfect. I'm in a great position to get married. So I don't need to actually work on myself. What if the next step to you getting married was actually you becoming better in a certain area? What if God really had someone for you, but he was like, you have to take the next step in your career. He had someone for you. You had to take the next step in your education.
Yeah.
Because when you get that degree, it's actually going to open a door and then you'll meet your spouse.
Oh, that's good.
Sometimes we stay too stuck because we feel like we've accomplished certain things in life and that's all we need to get married because, you know, Shaquisha down the road, she ain't had much going on. So Shaquisha was like, hey, I found a man and I didn't have to go to college. I found a man. I didn't have to work on my self-esteem.
Right.
I found a man. And you're looking at her and you're like, God, it doesn't take that much. But for you, it may require you to take the next step.
Yeah, because we all have our own path and our own destiny.
Yeah.
So what one woman may have had to accomplish, like you just said, before she got married, the next woman may not have to accomplish that.
You may not have to accomplish that. And so you're going to wait, but you're going to work while you wait. You're going to develop while you wait. And here's one of the things that I think can help a woman as they wait for a husband. There are many practical things you can do.
Yep.
But you're in your head and you're like, oh my God, I'm not going to make it through this. Oh my God, when is my husband coming?
Yeah.
Patience is something that you need to have in this season.
Oh, that's good.
And that's going to solve a lot of your frustrations mentally, is if you just embrace where you are and what God is doing, and stop looking at somebody else, because you just may need to be more patient than someone else. And waiting for a husband may just be you simply being patient. And when the Bible says patience is a virtue, it's really true, because not everybody has patience.
No.
And they're trying to accomplish things in life, and they don't realize that their impatience is an impediment to whatever God is trying to do and bring into their life. So they have to, whoever's watching this, you have to really incorporate patience into it.
I mean, it's funny because my dad told me this quote when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And it was like, patience is a virtue.
Right.
Catch it if you can. Often found in a woman, never found in a man. So I'm just throwing that in here. It's, I'm giving the people what they want. Witty quotes. No, but the next suggestion I have for women is kind of twofold.
Yeah.
The first one is find scriptures that relate to how a wife should behave. Actual scriptures, not a self-help book that may have been written by somebody who doesn't even believe in the Christian lifestyle, right? But find scriptures in the Bible that tell you how a woman should behave.
Right.
And then find scriptures, all the scriptures you can find on wives. Research what do those scriptures mean. Because even though the Bible wasn't written in our times, it still has timeless knowledge that can be applied for our time.
Right.
And so you want to do that and rehearse those and think about, okay, this is what God is saying a godly woman should look like. This is what God is saying a wife should look like. Do I embrace those characteristics, or am I lacking here? Am I lacking there?
Yeah.
And the other thing I would say, Mark, the second part is find wives that you respect, that have healthy marriages that you can glean from. If you come across a woman who has not only been married for a long time, because it's not just longevity you're after longevity in health.
Right.
There's something that she must be doing right. And so I'm not saying you have to become a carbon copy of her.
Right.
But what tools, what tips does she have that are timeless?
Yeah.
My mom gave me a tip that I realized is timeless. When I was a young girl, I'll never forget, we were driving somewhere, I think it might have been a Sunday, driving to church. And as a kid, when you're a kid, everything is an emergency, even when it's not. And so I was like badgering my dad about something. And my mom pulled me to the side later and she said, hey, when your dad is getting ready to preach, he needs that time to focus.
Yeah.
Don't badger him with things that are not relevant for right now. Because she said, what you had to bring up, it's not that it's insignificant, but it's not an emergency.
Right.
So wait until after church to bring up those types of things. And then she followed it up by saying, as women, when we're dealing with our husbands, we have to be wise.
Right.
We have to be able to read when is the best time to bring a particular subject up to them. When should I pull back? And that stuck with me, but that's a timeless piece of advice that even though I'm not a carbon copy of my mom, it works in my marriage and it'll work in other marriages.
Yeah.
So get around women who have long-standing, healthy marriages and ask them questions.
Listen, let's start getting real here, because that was just the intro. But if we dig a few layers deeper, Jen, because basically what you're saying is that if you want to be a wife, get around wives.
Please stop asking single women how to be a wife. I just hate that.
Thank you. Now we're getting real.
I hate when a single woman will say to me, well, you know what, Jen? I asked my friend so-and-so what I should do about this relationship I'm in. So-and-so is not in a relationship herself. She's never been married, but you're going to ask her, what should I do in this situation? What do you mean? She might be saved. She might be a nice person. But if she's never had a marriage or she's never had a healthy marriage, how is she going to tell you how to have a healthy marriage?
It's one of the most confusing things that in every other walk of life, whatever we want to be, we get in that environment. If we want to be an accountant, If we want to be a doctor, we go to school for it. Or we take an internship.
That's true.
Or we do a residency.
That's true.
And we get around doctors. We get in that industry because
Right.
that's what we want to become.
Yep.
So why is it when you want to become a wife, we only see you hanging out with single folk?
Listen.
And we can't find a wife in your life.
You don't ask the woman who has a healthy, long-standing marriage for advice. You ask your single friends. And then you wonder why you're getting messed up. Because they're in the... Listen, misery loves company. Okay?
Wow.
There's a reason somebody coined the term misery loves company. And if that young lady is secretly miserable, she might secretly want you to also be miserable.
Thank you, because a lot of single folk act like they're happy and they're not really happy.
Yeah.
Now, you can be successfully single.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're not saying if you're
some
single,
people
you're
don't want to be
automatically
married.
unhappy. Right.
So,
But what we're saying is that a lot of times people mask their sadness, their depression, their frustration, and they cover it with the current state that they're in, and they seem happy, but they're not really happy.
not really happy. When you and I first got engaged, Mark, my mom's godmother, who at the time must have been maybe in her 70s.
Yeah.
When we first got engaged, you know what she said to me? She was like, now I know you're young, so a lot of your friends are single, but she said to me, she was like, all I'm saying is you better guard your this phase of your relationship into your marriage from your single friends. And she said to me, when you get married, you can't be hanging out with them at the rate at which you were hanging out with them before. So it doesn't mean if you have a single friend that once you get married, you forsake them. But if you're on the path to engagement and marriage, you do have to compartmentalize them differently.
Yeah.
And so how do you wait for a husband? Be prepared for your life to change. So that's the thing. You have to envision and be okay with the fact that when I get married, it's just not going to be the same life it was when I was single.
That's so
And if
good.
you're not ready to embrace that, you might not be ready for a husband. If you normally take 4 girls' trips a year, when you get married, it doesn't become 4 girls' trips a year and then your husband's got to get in where he fits in.
Yeah.
Maybe you take 1, maybe you have a year where you take none.
Listen,
But how to wait is saying, okay,
I'm ready for the change.
I'm ready for the change.
I'm ready for the change. And a lot of people wait ineffectively.
Yeah.
A lot of single women wait ineffectively because they want to have their cake and eat it too. Mm-hmm. They want life to continue to be the same way,
Right.
and then fit in a husband.
Yeah.
But if you're waiting for a husband, then you need to wait in anticipation that my life is going to be totally disrupted if I bring a man into my life and I'm willing to be a wife.
Yes.
And the more that our society becomes individualistic, is the more that people feel like, well, hey, I don't have to change in
Yeah.
order to get married. I don't have to change to
Right.
get a husband. He has to change to conform to me. And what you have is 2 opposing sides that are unwilling to change.
Yeah.
And then you have a relationship that does not work. Maybe you're going to have to bend. Maybe you're going to have to be flexible.
Right.
Maybe you will have to move. Like, maybe you're going to have to move.
I had to move. But that's actually one of the things that we never had an argument about when we were engaged. We discussed that, hey, if we get married, Jen, you're going to have to move to Jersey because that's where you were living at the time. But I had already been conditioned, thankfully, by the mom who raised me to know that you go where your husband is, where God is leading him. If God is leading him to stay in New Jersey, guess what? You have to pack up and go to New Jersey. You have to be okay with knowing that, like you said, your life may get disrupted. You may not find the man that God has for you may not be in your city. He may not be in your country. He may not be in your state. And so if you're like, I'm only living in the state of California, then you might be missing the man God has for you. So you have to, while you're waiting, literally be open-minded and say, God, whoever you have for me, I realize he may not be in California, even though I'm currently in California.
Yeah, because I think that And we're talking about women specifically because the topic is how to wait for your husband.
Right.
But I think that women will say, I have a good job. I'm living in the state that I want to live in the city I want to live in.
Yeah.
Or I'm near my family, and I can't imagine moving somewhere else. Well, how you wait for a husband properly is that you're open to the idea and the possibility that it may require you to move and change your entire life.
Right. Yep.
And that's how you wait properly, because we think that we're going to have to do all that work once the person comes.
Right.
Sometimes God is asking you to do that work in preparation for the person, because he needs to determine, are you going to be rigid or flexible? That makes you a good candidate for marriage, because marriage is a life of flexibility.
Yes. Yes. Your whole marriage is going to be give and take.
Yeah.
And so the best thing you can do is learn those principles while you're waiting. Like we said, you're not going to be perfect, but at least try to get better. I also think, Mark, reading books that are written by reputable authors on womanhood and motherhood and wife material, especially written by reputable Christian authors. And I always am careful to say it that way, because sometimes you'll come across an author who's like, it doesn't matter what religion you are, right? And then sometimes with that, they'll actually have you doing things that go against what God has already said goes in line with a biblical marriage.
Right.
So you want to start with reputable Christian authors, but finding books that will also help you, because we live in such an age where you can get information so easily and so quickly that even if you feel that you didn't grow up in an environment with a woman who was able to show you how to be a godly wife, there's so much information and access now. You shouldn't be without the tools you need to get ready.
You shouldn't be without it. And, as we're going through this topic, I'm thinking about Naomi and Ruth and Boaz.
Yeah.
And how Naomi was like this wedding whisperer or this matchmaker.
Yeah.
That she was positioning Ruth to continue the family and continue the legacy. So she's like, hey, Ruth, I want you to go into this field. It's owned by Boaz. And I want you to reap the harvest in that particular field, because she's thinking that, hey, Boaz will notice Ruth, and I think I can hook them up. So if you're waiting, you can't wait out of position.
Right.
You have to be in the right position so that you can get noticed, so that somebody will find you, so that you can even find the person. Because I believe that when the Bible says he that finds a wife finds a good thing, that's within the context of the man searching. It does not mean, though, that the woman cannot be on a search in her own way. I think that we're living in a day and an age where women are not just in the house.
Right.
They're not, locked down.
Well, some
they're
women
not
are, that's why they're
segregated.
not being found. Because some women don't leave the house. You work from home, you exercise from home, you grocery shop from home, you do church from home. And then you're like, why am I not being found? Because unless we're sending in the SWAT team for you, we cannot find you. Okay? Because we're not God. We can't be everywhere at the same time. We don't know your address. We don't know your address, sis. Okay? And so you even do your hair from home, YouTube tutorials, like everything is done from home. And so some of you aren't being found because some of you actually are at home. But to your point, not women aren't home all the time now.
Yeah. I think that was a great turn, right? We're going straight and then it's like a hard left. And I think that's perfect, though.
And plus, people have been missing your side reaction.
Oh, yeah. I haven't turned to the side in a few weeks.
Decided to give the people what they want.
Yeah. This is good, though. I agree that you have to be in position. You have to be open to certain things. Maybe you have to be open to watching a game. You know, you have to be open to, you know, being interested in football or basketball. Maybe you'll go to a game whereas you wouldn't have gone before because that's not your thing.
Yeah.
But you know that guys like that, and maybe a guy would be into a girl who at least will go to the game.
Yeah. At least just like moral support and doing it out of, I know you love it, so I want to just go to keep you company, to be hanging out with you, even if I don't love it.
Yeah, those are some of the ways that you can wait for a husband. And we want people to... Here's another thing, is that I think it's important that a woman waits for a husband.
Okay.
That she doesn't try and control it.
That's good.
And force it.
Okay. That's good.
Talk to us a little bit, Jen. I'll set you up here about waiting for a husband and a woman's role as it relates to being feminine, being meek in a godly way, right? Being reserved enough, not being too forward, and not trying to manipulate the situation to try and force God into a relationship or force yourself into a relationship. Talk to the women a little bit about how to actually wait, right? And not become too antsy or not throwing yourself
Well, yeah. I mean, you want to wait with grace. So when you go on your first date, and I understand that a woman who's going on a date at 20 probably does have a different mindset than a woman going on a date at 40. But both women need to not take that first date and say, how quickly are you looking to get married? Because if a guy
oh God,
if a guy takes you on one date and didn't propose, he's not necessarily wasting your time. He doesn't know you. You are stranger danger. So you still turn to the side.
Stranger danger.
So you have to give guys a chance. Guys don't like to be made to feel that you are forcing them to do something, like you're telling them what to do. So you wait with grace. You go on date 1, you see how it goes.
I like it.
If you go on date 2, you see how it goes.
I like it.
There's a certain feel, right? So I'm not suggesting that you date a guy for years and he's never spoken to you about what his intentions are. That's the other extreme.
Right.
But what I'm saying is let it kind of flow. Be prayerful. Also, wait with grace means you need to, and this may sound old school, but I'm going to say it because there's certain things I'm tired of seeing. Less is more. You can look trendy without showing all of your skin. He is not your husband. Why is he seeing all of your skin? Why is the world seeing all of your skin? But that's a different YouTube video. So be great. Why are you still turned to the side? Am I not speaking truth? Here's what guys may not tell you. If he's a godly man, he actually doesn't want you bearing all when you all are out in public together.
That's true. That's true.
If he's truly a godly man, he does not want to see all of you on display because he doesn't want everyone else to see all of you on display. And if you show up like that before you're a wife, then in a guy's mind, well, my goodness, by the time she is a wife, it's not going to get any better. It might get worse, but it's not going to get better. So now I have a wife who's bearing all. And no guy wants to say this, a godly man, I'm saying, wants to say, this is my wife, and you don't even leave anything to the imagination.
Right, because a guy is saying to himself, oh, this is great. That's the first reaction. Mm-hmm. When you're exposing too much, he's enticed by that. We're not going to lie. Mm-hmm. He's enticed by that. But if he's trying to find a wife, not a night out, not a good time, he's actually trying to find a wife, his second thought is going to be, well, after we have fun, can I keep this for the long haul? Is this going to be a problem? Am I going to have to say, hey, do you have to wear that?
Yeah.
Hey, you don't think that's a little too short? You don't think that's a little too low?
Yeah.
Like, he wants all that for himself. but he doesn't want his wife to be showing.
And that's the
all
thing,
that.
Mark, that I think a lot of guys won't necessarily tell you. They will just move on. Because once they're serious about finding a wife, they may not tell you. They would just move on to try and find a woman who they don't have to say that to. Because I guess for a guy, it's like, when I find a woman who naturally does that on her own, that's great for me, because then I
Right.
know where her standards are.
Yeah.
And so while you may think, I'm doing this to entice him, it's the wrong type of enticing that you're doing.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't need for the long term or want you to entice him and other men at the same time.
He doesn't want that. And, he wants to be confident that she's not going to be out here embarrassing me.
So that's why I'm like, to wait effectively, check your wardrobe. Check your wardrobe. No one's saying that you have to look frumpy, because there are so many ways these days to look trendy without crossing the line and being immodest.
Yeah.
And the Bible speaks about modesty.
Listen.
You know why? Because God knows how men think. God knows what men are looking for in a wife. So he's like, you know what? If you're a godly woman, be modest.
Yeah, the problem is you're taking your cues from all these women you see on IG that get a ton of comments because they're showing too much.
Or they have husbands, but do they have godly husbands?
Right.
For the ones that are married.
And so you're out here taking cues from that, and you're like, hey, if I do that, I'll get the attraction,
right.
I'll get the eyes, I'll get the attention is what I'm looking for. I'll get the attention of all these men. But it's the wrong attention, because none of them are looking for a wife.
That's it.
None of them are looking for a wife.
Yeah.
So I dropped that question on you because I didn't know where you would take it, but I knew you have something great to say.
Yeah.
Because if you're waiting, there's a way to wait.
There's a way to wait. Absolutely. I love that. There's a way to wait.
There's a way to wait, and be patient.
Yes.
And if you're waiting the right way, then we believe God is going to bless you with that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. He's absolutely gonna do it. Just stick with God and hold on to it, and it'll happen. All right?
Yep.
You got anything else?
No, I think I'm good.
Yeah, we can keep going with this, but I think it's a great place to pause it. And this has been a really, really good talk. So this has been another episode of Breakfast with Mark and Jen. Listen, y'all, we have some great things about to drop. Before we get off of here, if you haven't registered yet for the Lunch and Love that's coming up.
If you're in or near Charlotte.
Yeah, it's just over a week on February 10th.
Yes.
You can still register. I don't know when you'll see this, but go ahead and register. And we want to see all the couples together in one room. It's going to be a great time.
Yes.
And then we have something else coming out right after that that we believe is going to bless your life. And that's something for everybody, no matter where you live. And we're excited about it.
Yes.
But this has been a great episode. And we hope and we pray that it really blesses your life, blesses your relationships, and it really blesses your marriage. Until next time. We'll catch you later. Take care.